Arctic Project, Frozen Secrets. We are in the Arctic, in the distant North Pole, in 1905. Norwegian explorer Ronald Raymond is part of the first research and exploration expeditions of the polar cap. Among his studies were, in addition to the geographical aspects of the location, cataloging polar animal species such as bears, seals, and sea lions, as well as seeking possible contacts with nomadic tribes or any ancient or still unknown civilization. The expedition's ship remained anchored far from the plain to escape the extreme cold and the feared ice avalanches from the many floating islands around. For this challenging task, Ronald went with a small boat through the icy waters of the Arctic Ocean and surfaced in hostile weather and heavy snowfall. In the early days, the team prepared to build an exploration base to protect themselves from potential predator attacks and escape the extreme cold. While the scientific base was under construction, Ronald ventured out, observing the nearly non-existent vegetation, animals thriving in their habitat, and even making contact with members of a nomadic tribe living in the area. Despite not understanding the tribe's language, gestures revealed that the mountains held the most dangerous areas, some even deemed too hazardous for exploration. Nevertheless, one day, Ronald took the risk, walking to the cold mountains, climbing glaciers, researching everything in his path, and facing the freezing weather and snow. While his team constructed the base, Ronald headed towards an enormous mountain. His path narrowed, forcing him to climb through rocks until he reached a large cave entrance. There, he set up his tent to eat and warm up by a fire to continue his exploration at night. Walking kilometers through snow and rocks, he noticed a massive ice wall and decided to investigate. He was astonished to find a frozen creature, likely trapped there for a long time due to unknown reasons, perhaps caught in an avalanche. The creature's frozen appearance was undefined, seemingly just its skeleton. As night fell and the temperature dropped, Ronald sought refuge, planning to resume his exploration the next morning. The next day, he began the excavation, removing the ice block where the creature had been petrified for a long time. However, upon removing the initial part, Raymond discovered that the unknown being was properly accommodated in a kind of sarcophagus. He also calculated that descending with his discovery down the mountain would be challenging, so he needed to contact his team for assistance in bringing the creature to their scientific base. Therefore, after another day of intense excavation work, upon completely removing the sarcophagus, he saw another night arrive and decided to rest again, resuming the base the next morning. A few hours later, Ronald woke up, left his tent, and was met with an unusual sight. The unknown being had disappeared, and in the excavations he had made, a larger opening had appeared, giving access to a tunnel. Upon entering, his body was quickly launched downward to a sector well below the glaciers. Sliding through a plastic-looking tube at high speed, he could only see rapid images of a seemingly different area. It appeared to be an environment where the northern lights were present, with many colors and effects that left him both fascinated and frightened. Upon reaching the ground after sliding for several minutes, Ronald seemed to know where to walk, even though he had never seen the place. It was a large base with various areas of different types of extraction. Everything he intended to research and explore in the Arctic was there in this stronghold, as if his subconscious desire to discover the North Pole had been fully materialized. In addition to all the studies and collections made for research, the location also had futuristic mechanisms that Ronald would never understand their purpose. However, his hands and perception automatically led him to operate the controls on certain control tables, and he reached a chair surrounded by a rainbow aura, where he settled and put on a highly technological helmet. Ronald was now terrified. While he had no understanding of what his eyes saw, his body and actions activated the machine. He saw images with codes and a different language that he would never comprehend. After a few minutes, he was transported to another area. But now it was just a vision. It seemed like he was in a dream, only visualizing the entire journey. Passing through a translucent and colorful trip, he went through the depths of the Arctic Ocean, passing seals and whales, seeing the icy seabed, and finally reaching an illuminated base many kilometers below sea level. Upon arrival, his vision encountered a highly technological machine in a sector resembling a metal vessel, where he once again activated a mechanism resembling a clock. He understood that the machine was being programmed for a previous date. Suddenly, everything went dark. Ronald only woke up the next day in his tent in the morning. He quickly went outside, and the creature was no longer in the area. There was no excavation, and everything seemed as if nothing had happened days ago when he discovered the frozen being in the ice block in front of him. All that was left for Ronald was to return to his base and tell his fellow researchers about the incident. They warned him, "Ronald, this is still an unknown place, but other explorers have informed us that the extremely cold weather can cause vertigo and even fainting due to the lack of oxygen in the brain." Ronald was outraged and couldn't believe what he had gone through, but the next day, he continued his research in the Arctic in search of answers or something more enlightening about what had happened. It was surreal to have experienced all that and now have such a disappointing ending. He remembered the entire story, from his discovery to entering the path behind the whereabouts of the creature, the images he saw while sliding into the translucent environment, the strange machines, and finally, traveling in a chair, ending up in the time programming with unknown codes but knew how to activate automatically. He remembered everything and couldn't understand how everything happened when he woke up, and nothing existed. An unexpected event occurred. A huge polar bear appeared, seemingly hungry. Ronald, trying to escape with difficulty through the snow, slid on a layer of ice and accidentally sank into the icy waters. His body froze quickly. His last perception was the extremely cold temperature that seemed to crack his entire body, facing the image of the creature again, which quickly understood his telepathic message. "You discovered my sarcophagus among the glaciers and ended up freeing me from the accident I had while exploring your planet. Through this, I managed to use your body telepathically while you were sleeping to reach my base, far below your world, in the icy waters, and finally activate our space-time mechanism. I could return hours before my accident and cancel the exploration. You freed me and saved me. Just as I used your body to go back in time, I will now save you from losing your life in this accident. But I will erase your memory. You won't remember anything, but you will wake up safe and sound." Ronald Raymond woke up in his base, surrounded by his friends, who said they found him unconscious in the snow a few meters from the base as soon as he went out to continue the exploration. Confused, Ronald remembered nothing, and the next day, he went out to research the area again. He even managed to make contact with members of a nomadic tribe living in that area, and although he didn't understand the language of that tribe, through gestures, he discovered that the mountains were the most dangerous areas, some of which were impossible to explore. So, he concluded, I better not climb those mountains. Besides being very cold, something tells me it's too risky to go up there. What if I come face to face with a hungry bear? Although I haven't even seen any animals around here yet.